What's up, grappling fans? Welcome to the first episode of our brand new podcast here on FloGrappling, Grappling Bulletin. Myself, Howell, and Chase. Of course, you know, same old faces, but a brand new show, right, Chase? Something a little bit different.
Some vibey intro music as well. I'm feeling good. I'm excited.
Right.
I'm excited.
Yeah, make me feel good. It's like
what is the Grappling Bulletin, Hal?
No, well, I was about to ask you, what is the Grappling Bulletin, Chase?
We should have game planned a little bit more closely before we got into this. I have no idea what we're going to do
Neither of the hosts know what the Grappling Bulletin is. No, the truth is, it is a weekly show. For anybody who's familiar with the weekly article that we have on FloGrappling, it's pretty much that, but it's a show. It is news, it is recaps, it is results, it's the best moments, the biggest stories, it's everything you need to know about the world of grappling and jiu-jitsu. And basically, we're just going to cover as much kind of cool stuff as we can, right?
The state of the sport and culture today.
Yeah, big highlights of the best moments, the biggest matches, the most notable results, and well, everything else, right? No limit to this.
Exactly. So a bit of what you know, but in a new package. Hopefully you guys like some of the changes we're making, and it's going to be an ongoing development. So let us know what you think. Drop those DMs and comments, and we'll get to it. But it's been an exciting weekend for Jiu-Jitsu, Hal. A lot of stuff going on.
Well, there was a landmark moment for Jiu-Jitsu, right? With Fight to Win hosting their first all-women's professional grappling event. Now, this is not the first time there has been an event featuring exclusively female competitors, but it's fair to say this is by far the biggest, right?
Yeah, I think there were over 45 matches, up
Huge.
to 6, I think, former world champions, current and former world champions on the card. That's an amazing card,
Yeah.
and they deliver, man. You could tell that the women on this card really wanted to show that they can really put on an amazing event, and they did.
Yeah, they brought out the big names for this as well, right? Just looking quickly at the top of the card, you had Rafaela Guedes, Ana Carolina Vieira, you had Tubby Aliquin, you had Natalie Ribeiro, Talita Alencar, Gabby McComb, and many others. And, you know, that is a powerful lineup for any Superfights show. So I really appreciate the fact that, you know, the biggest names came out to support this event. But let's jump right in and talk about some of the biggest results from this one, because I think it was probably the main event that got the most attention, right? And, you know, crazy match. Rafaela Guedes
kind of works, right? Main event.
Indeed. But Rafaela Guedes versus Ana Carolina Vieira. Man, sometimes main events don't always live up to the hype. This one definitely did.
Yeah,
right?
as a battle royale, and a lot of hype behind Rafaela Guedes coming into this match. She's a brand new black belt from Atos, who already has captured a major title just a few months into her career. She won Pans, of course, and this was a major test for her, right? We have Ana Carolina Vieira, world champion, a lot of experience as a black belt. And I think we were all really curious to see how it would play out. And, man, it was a chippy, scrappy match, Hal.
Yeah, it was. Not without controversy as well. I think that's the important thing to mention. I mean, Rafaela Guedes is a brand new black belt. She got her black belt in, like, October last year, you know? And Ana Carolina Vieira is a 3-time IBJJF world champion. That is a big deal. So, Baby, that's her nickname,
Also,
Ana
ADCC
Carolina.
veteran and Nogi world champion, and this was, of course, a Nogi match, so that's worth pointing out here.
Yeah, so Baby is one of the best known women on the scene, you know, and very, very dominant. It's rare to see her get tested, let alone lose. But Rafaela has been on a tear, and she came out. She had something to prove in this match, right?
I mean, absolutely. People were, I wouldn't say doubting her, but the onus was on her to say, I belong here, right? And
Right.
I think she made that statement. I think as we're chatting through this, how we should run the highlight and kind of see some of the action that was going on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. There's a lot of good stuff from Fight to Win. Let's just play it, because there's like a lot of good stuff. There's some action here from, this is Ana Carolina versus
This main
Rafaela.
event here.
I think that really showcases how physical this match was.
Right, they were both going after each other. There's a moment, maybe we get to a little bit more detail later, where they went crashing off the stage. It was kind of a distraction, I would say, from the action. So I left it out of the highlight, right? We want to showcase the best moments. So we have Gabby, McComb, and Talita going after it.
You want to talk about Chippy?
Yeah, exactly. Both of these women going after it. Again, a little bit crashing off the stage. This was another great match tonight. Luana Alcazar versus Hannah Stack. Amazing. But we had, of course, every belt level represented. This was one of the nastiest submissions of the night. A bit of a standing guillotine here.
Wow, look at
with
that.
a high elbow variation finish.
Oh man, that's a beautiful finish. It really was. But I think what you said there as well about how you had all levels. You had basically teenage colored belts. You had blue belts right up to black belts. There was a little bit of everything on this show. A real showcase of the kind of the diversity and the whole spectrum of women's jiu-jitsu.
That
right?
was Jasmine Rocha there, who I think had 2 matches.
She did.
Yeah, and so she won one and lost a split decision on the other. But going out there twice is no small feat.
Nice footlock.
Yeah, I got that. I don't know if it's a heel look. I couldn't tell from here, but something vicious on the
Yeah,
lower limbs there.
You'd expect nothing less. Well, let's go back to the match with Rafaela Guedes and Ana Carolina Vieira, because you briefly mentioned it earlier, but there was a moment that, well, Baby was pretty mad about. Why don't you explain?
She
what
made
happened?
her feelings known afterwards, of course, on IG. But Rafaela basically took him off the stage. You know, it was a double leg attempt, kind of a rushing double leg, and they went completely off the stage. I mean, it was nowhere near being stopped. They went a whole row back.
Yeah, the referee was unable to contain them. You know, those are two very, very powerful athletes, right? You know, both Rafaela and Ana Carolina are very, very physical athletes. And of course, you know, when two great forces like that meet, you know, there's going to be an explosion. And yeah, Rafaela drove Ana Carolina off the mat. Luckily, none of them sustained an injury, right? Because
the match went on.
You know, you're a good 4 feet off the floor, and you know you go flying off into the crowd. I mean, we've seen that happen in the past. It can end badly. Luckily, they were fine. They jumped straight back up on the stage, and it continued. But Baby had some choice words. She didn't appreciate the intention behind the move. She thought it was a hostile act, right? An aggressive act, an attempt to injure her. I reached out to the Atos camp to you know, kind of shed some light on this, and they basically said, listen, there was no mal intent, you know, there's nothing sort of designed behind that movement to try and end the match early. You know, it was simply heat of the moment, and you know, sometimes you drive forward through a takedown, you can't even see where you're going, right? You know, a big old mat like that, sometimes you do just run out of space.
I mean, it's clearly a show of dominance, right? Like, I think maybe I don't entirely disagree that Rafaela didn't know they were going towards the edge of the mat, and she was playing chicken there with the boundary, seeing if the ref would stop them or if, you know, Baby would make a drastic movement to try and avoid it. But she clearly was using the momentum to make that happen. Do I think it's dirty or malicious? No, but it is kind of dangerous. I mean,
it is dangerous.
There's no denying that. But I'm really glad that no one was injured. But I can understand Baby or Anna's frustration there. It's not the jiu-jitsu that maybe won her that match in some sense, right? Because it's about the aggression that could have been the deciding factor. And if you're a purist, well, is that what you want? I don't know.
Right.
As a fan, it was an exciting match to watch, and you know, that's what Fight to Win wants to showcase, right? They're about showcasing the most exciting matches possible. So I feel for both athletes in this scenario. I think they both laid it out there, but very exciting all around.
You know, the biggest thing that comes to me from this whole thing, you know, this is the first time that they faced off, obviously, with Rafaela being, in effect, a rookie black belt. It feels strange to call her a rookie, considering that she took double gold at Pans, double gold at No-Gi Pans, was part of the winning team at Subversive, all this in just the last 4 months. You know, she made a statement.
She's the real
right?
deal.
Yeah, it really is. She's come out, you know, with a bang onto the black belt scene. But I don't think this is going to be the first time, the last time, excuse me, that we'll see them go. I think this could be the start of a healthy rivalry.
I hope so. You know, but I think there isn't really much option for it not to be. The women's divisions are kind of small at the black belt level. Only, you know, 10 or so girls per division, women per division, and well, the cream rises to the top. We'll see them in the final again somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I like this as well. You know, some new blood being injected in the division, and Rafaela, you know, she competes both gi and no gi, so we should see, you know, plenty more matches just like this coming through. Any other big results stand out to you from Fight to Win?
Definitely an exciting match that I really enjoyed watching. What was Amanda Tubby Alquin versus Tata Natalie Ribeiro. That was a really fun match, very chippy match. Another match not without its own share of controversy. As a split decision win, I believe, for Tubby. Some people thought Tata won, but either way, it was really just, I want to use the word rambunctious. You know, it was wild.
I mean, these matches are so close, you know, and the fact that it goes down to a split decision goes to show that, you know, it's open to interpretation to the judges. It can go either way, and you know, 2 versus 1. It shows how close these contests really are.
I just think overall, if you watch the event in its entirety, you can see it was just action-packed from start to finish. I think everyone out there was something to prove, saying this is an important moment for jiu-jitsu to have an event like this, and they wanted to make it as exciting as possible, and I think that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a reminder, if you have any comments about anything that we're discussing here on the show today, drop your comments in on the Facebook chat or on the YouTube comments, and our social media guru, Connor, in the back there will let us know about them, and we'll happily take your comments or questions. Moving on to BJJ Stars. So this is by far Brazil's biggest event right now. And BJJ Stars coming up this weekend, Saturday, February 6th. Man, heavyweight Grand Prix. That sounds pretty good. What's
I can't
going
wait.
on?
There's no less than 4 world champions in the bracket here. It's an 8-man tournament as well as some super fights. Let's just go ahead and name those 4 world champs that are in the bracket.
Some big names.
We have Nicolas Marigali, Felipe Pena, Herber Santos, Lucas the Hulk Barbosa are all in there. And they also have some interesting upstarts, you could call them maybe, in the division as well. We have Eric Muniz, who is a relatively new black belt. I think he got that just September, October this year.
Yeah, like brand new, yeah.
Gutenberg is in there. Who else am I missing, Hal?
Luis Panza.
Luis Panza.
And you also have, Yuri Samois. Now, this is really interesting for me. Definitely
Breaking news, basically. Just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. This is huge because originally Muhammad Ali was in this lineup. And that's also a great name, right? That would have been 5 world champions in that list. But Yuri Samois enters the fray because Muhammad Ali had to withdraw. Now, Yuri Samois is very well known as a 2-time ADCC champion, as a multiple-time no-gi world champion, but he has never had the same success in the gi. Now, of course, he's a phenomenal black belt. He's a great grappler, but Yuri hasn't even competed in the gi since October 2018.
Wow, that's been a minute.
That is 28 months ago. 28 months. That's almost 2.5 years. Now, of course, what's he been doing in that time?
Well, fighting professional MMA.
Exactly,
among other things.
And doing a lot of no-gi too. You know, of course, concentrating on, ADCC. And like Chase said, last year he made his MMA debut. So, of course, he's been active, but man, that's a long time to be away from the gi, right?
A long time to be away and a hell of a welcome back. I mean, you're going against the very best in the world. So I love it, right? Because these guys are very familiar with one another as well. There's a lot of rivalries that extend across multiple years. So maybe a little bit of the wild card factor with Yuri coming back could shake things up in the bracket, give people some looks that they haven't experienced in a while. I don't know. I'm very excited to see what Yuri injects into this. I think it's a little bit of an unexpected development for everyone involved, and I'm just really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I gotta say, I have questions as well that can only really be answered when we watch the event on Saturday. And the biggest thing for me is that, Yuri has access to very high-level jiu-jitsu. He trains with some phenomenal people, and of course, one of his coaches is Caio Terra. Caio Terra is known for being one of the most technical black belts on the planet. But competition trends change, and I think one of the biggest trends over the last couple of years was the prolific nature of the lapel game, right? Whereas before there were only a handful of people doing it, most notably Keenan. Now, man, you see blue belts pulling that shit
that's
out,
almost
right?
a standard part of the game at this point.
It really is. If you don't know it, you're going to get caught. And Eric Muniz, who's in this lineup, now there's no guarantee that Yuri will fight Eric. We're going to find out about the bracket hopefully later this week. We believe that the bracket will be random draw and it will be done around the time of the weigh-ins. But let's just imagine Yuri Samois goes out there. Now, if he goes up against Felipe Pena, probably knows what to expect. If he goes up against Herber Santos, oh yeah, you know what to expect.
But then that happens. That'd be fun.
But Eric Muniz starts wrapping you up with the lapel and the lasso and all that crazy stuff. How's he going to deal with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do think Eric probably brings the most variations to the lapel game. I feel like him and his brothers have really been on that style of play for several years now. I think we were talking about this 2 or 3 years ago.
Since they were like blue and purples, yeah.
So it's a very advanced part of the game that I think we can see quite a bit of from him. But yeah, Yuri has a lot of interesting matchups available to him here. I'm extremely excited, of course, to see Nicolas Marigali back in action.
Well, I wanted to ask you this. In that 8-man lineup, 4 world champions, no slouches, but could you pick a favorite?
Favorite's hard. I mean, the talent here is sky high.
Okay, then. Front runners. Could you pick a front runner?
For my money, I think the front. I mean, I want to pick 3. There's so many. There's so many.
That's how loaded this bracket is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to call, but I really like Nicholas Marigali's, Felipe Pena's, and Hulk's chances here. I think Hulk has been super active, right? And I think that's going to work in his favor.
Yeah.
Many of these guys have competed maybe just once in 2020. Some of them haven't competed at all. So there is a little bit of the ring rust factor there. Whereas Hulk is not going to experience that. At least you could make that argument.
He never stopped, right?
He just kept going.
He was going all through the quarantine or the lockdown period. He was, he was one of the very first to come back. Yeah.
But I think Marigali in a vacuum might have the best success if you just look at his past results. But we don't live in one of those. I mean, there are a lot of external factors here that could change things. But I really hope we see Felipe Marigali Part 2.
Yeah, that's the match that I would be most excited for because, of course, Marigali and Felipe Pena, they had a great match at the World Championships a couple of years ago, right? And that's the kind of match that you really want to see happen again, for sure. I mean, for me, I think that, stacking up the talent, that Nicholas Marigali is the name that jumps out the most. But then you have to consider that Marigali, he only competed, I believe, twice in 2020. And one of those was a loss to Victor Hugo, and the other was a draw to Leandro Lo. And before that, his most recent match was, on Spider in Korea, November 2019. It's a long time ago now. And, he lost to Kainan Duarte there. So you could say that Marigali is the favorite, but, most recent results and the inactivity, is that going to hurt him? Felipe Pena had one match in 2020. That was the verbal tap against Urba Santos. That's not exactly a big consistent run. So I think
of consistency, I mean, there is Urberth himself, where you never know what's coming with Urberth.
Exactly,
but,
and
I'm always excited to see what he can do because on the right day, I mean, he's a world champion.
Yeah,
Urberth has won a world championship among many other titles, and he has the right tools if his head is on straight.
It's which Urba shows up, right?
That's the question.
Always, yeah. But I got to say, I think you're onto something, about Hulk. Lucas Barboza has been extremely active, and, his results have been extremely impressive as well. So let's see how that translates into a performance next Saturday. We'll see how it happens.
Absolutely.
But we also got some great super fights on that show too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's I love how they mix in some no-gi matches, right? So the gi, or the 8-man bracket, is a gi bracket. And then we have some fantastic super fights. I think it's going to be headlined by Leandro Lo versus Gustavo Batista.
That's a gi match.
I love watching Leandro do anything, so that's exciting. Plus, there's a bit of a history there of those guys.
Former master and student,
Exactly, and they have a match that Leandro won, I think a very close match, if I remember correctly, Pans a couple years ago.
They fought, I think they may have fought more than once, actually, but you're right, it was very close, and it's the kind of match that there's a lot on the line in that one. It's not just the kind of match that there's a just a win or a loss. There's more to it, because Gustavo left Leandro's Brotherhood team, went to Atos, became a world class. He was already a world class black belt, but started picking up those results on the world stage after leaving, and then they ended up sort of like facing off in the tournaments. It's a crazy story.
It's pretty wild. Joining them, we have Roberto Jimenez versus Izaki Bahayen's, a no-gi match. Now that might be the sleeper match for fight of the night, Hal.
Well, you could say that anytime Roberto fights.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. People may overlook this because there's so many star-studded names in the bracket and whatnot, but
against Izak, because Izak, for people who don't realize, Izak is a great no-gi fighter, of course, IBJJF world champion in the gi, and a phenomenal athlete. He is extremely hard to score on. He is very, very clever in the way that he fights. He's very explosive, very athletic, and I got to say as well, just has that unshakable willpower, that when he goes out there and he competes, you see the fire in his eyes. I think it really sets him apart. It's something you can't teach. You either have it or you don't, right? But Roberto, he's just had an incredible year, 2020. You might think that he automatically has the edge because it's a no-gi match. No. Izak is a freaking pit bull when it comes to no-gi matches.
Yeah, I can't argue with that assessment at all. I do like this sort of new Roberto we've been seeing, though, lately. 2020 was a transformative year for everybody, but I feel like Roberto's mindset and preparation really kind of ran the gamut, where we saw him do everything possible to sort of change his mindset, change his skills, and he closed off the year with that incredible win over Dante Leon, who's number 1.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm just curious to see what he brings to the table, man. He's looking like a new athlete out there and constantly evolving. He's really exciting, and I haven't seen Izaki for a while just because it's been the state of things.
He hasn't really competed that much.
But,
he's done some gi, but first no gi match in a long time.
The last match I mean, there's a lot of matches on the card that I'm excited for, but the one we should really talk about is Bia Mesquita versus Tamara Ferreira. That was a rematch from the last BJJ Stars.
Yeah.
And that was almost a full-on brawl, Hal.
Yeah, well, they had a gi match on the last event, right? And it was a humdinger, that's for sure. Yeah.
Humdinger. Yeah. Doesn't get any more exciting than that. But no, it was actually pretty crazy, right? Like,
it was a great match.
Tamara racked up, I think, like 6 or 7 advantages, but could not get the finalize a score. And Bia, I think, won just by 2. Yeah. It was a very close match where at any moment, Tamara could have come back and taken the lead, but Bia being the veteran, multiple-time world champion, lady goat, basically, that she is, she knows how to win.
Yeah, but I gotta say, Tamara, there was some heat in that match.
She was coming for Bia.
Exactly, and I have a feeling that is going to basically repeat itself in this no-gi match. And it's kind of interesting that they would run it back so quickly. But interesting that they would decide to do so in no-gi, It's like, why not just have a straight rematch in the gi? It's like, we're going to do it no-gi this time.
I like it. I love it. Why
Me
not?
too, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Beatrice, she's ADCC champion, so she's pretty spectacular. And Tamara, well, we've always known of her potential, right? But she hasn't quite had those really breakthrough results. European IBJJF champion, but that's it, because she's still a relatively young black belt in comparison. But yeah, this could be a big one for sure.
Our very own Ring Coddle kind of made a little hype video for this event. Let's go ahead and run that now and just give you a little more flavor for the excitement that we're experiencing here.
We have to take a look at some of these names in the Grand Prix. It is absolutely insane, okay? You got the most feared man in Jiu-Jitsu, Nicholas Marigali. You have the veteran, Felipe Pena, the favorite probably in Lucas Barbosa. You have the dark horse, Gutenberg Pereira. You have the specimen, Muhammad Ali is gonna be out there. The prodigy, Eric Munoz, and you cannot forget about this wild card that is Herbert Santos. I have no idea how this thing is gonna go down, and that's what makes it so exciting. But if Superfights are more your speed, well, BJJ Stars got that too. We have got the legendary Mario Hayes returning to competition. Leandro Lowe taking on a former teammate, Gustavo Batista. A lot on the line in that match, more than just winning and losing. You have got the Darce Hunters, Gabriel Rola, Milton Vieira squaring off. That one should be crazy. But if we're talking about crazy matches, we have got to talk about Beatriz Mesquita versus Tamara Ferreira. Both these girls threw down in one of the very best matches of the year last year at BJJ Stars. If you haven't seen that one, go back and check it out because it was a barn burner. And this time, this year in 2021, they are running things back, but this time in the no-gi setting, which means for probably even more scrambles, even more submission attempts. I am really, really looking forward to that matchup. I cannot wait, but there's one match that sits above them all. Of course, I am talking about Roberto Jimenez versus Isaac Bahiennes. Both these guys are absolute killers. Isaac Bahiennes, the black belt world champion, has just been on top of his game lately. And if you've been paying any attention out there, you know that Roberto Jimenez is out there looking to take out every single black belt that is on the scene. This guy is coming for everybody. Love these two guys' styles, love their jiu-jitsu. They never take a back step, each of them. It's gonna be an incredibly exciting match. And of course, as an easy pick, it's gonna be my pick for fight of the night. I cannot wait for that one. Roberto versus Isaac. This whole card is stacked, man. Well,
there you have it, guys. You can watch BJJ Stars this weekend, February 6th. Event will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, I believe.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Moving on. So one thing that we want to do here on Grappling Bulletin is we want to highlight some of the best performances of the events here on FloGrappling. And one that really jumped out to us from last weekend's Fight to Win was that of Erin Harp. So Erin Harp, let's roll this video while we talk about it. So kind of a little known of a lesser known figure on the professional grappling scene, a BJJ black belt fighting out of Tampa, Florida. She is a 2-0 MMA fighter signed with Invicta, and she came out and she took on IBJJF World No-Gi champion Maggie Grindaddy. Now, Erin definitely came into this match as I would call her the underdog because Maggie is a much more visible face on the grappling scene. We haven't really seen so much black belt from Erin. Man, she came out with an absolute fire under her, right?
Yeah, I mean, she was entering enemy territory. Of course, Maggie is in Miami, where this event was, and Fight Sports kind of HQ. So Erin had to make a statement, and she opened up strong with a couple takedowns in a row. But I really love her scrambling ability. You saw right there, came out of a precarious situation and managed to lock onto the back, which is freaking amazing transition if you really watched it a few times.
Man, this is one of my favorite moments as well. She went from the standing rear body lock, kind of rolled through going for like a knee bar, and then switched it to this Kimura immediately. Man, it was just a phenomenal performance. You know, credit to Maggie Grandati for weathering the storm and hanging in there. It was a decision win. But Erin, man, she was just so aggressive. And, you know, obviously I understand that she's an MMA fighter, but I would really like to see her compete in some more professional no-gi grappling.
Oh, absolutely. I think she came out there, made a statement, and caught everybody's attention. You know, I was watching that match live. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And Maggie, to her credit, like you said, hung in through some tough spots and did end the match in a pretty good position here.
Oh, yeah.
But didn't have enough time to really get it done. Erin also kind of escaped right at their last moment. But what a performance from Erin Harp. Like you said, I hope we see her back soon.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, you know, the performance of the week, this is something that we would make into a regular feature. We want to highlight these athletes and really showcase their talents. And, you know, we'll be doing much more of this as we go on. So moving on, some kind of recent news. This is less of a sort of a breaking news story. This is more of a kind of one of those general topics that comes up in jiu-jitsu once in a while. But, you know, Ralph Gracie was you know, involved in a very public incident a couple of years ago. Elaine ended up with an actual prison sentence, and he presented himself to jail to serve a 6-month sentence for assault very recently. And without wanting to get into the weeds too much about the whys and the whats and the whos and everything, just to recap very quickly, you know, that it was basically Ralph Gracie was sentenced for the assault of Flavio Almeida, who is a representative of the Gracie Barra network. So Ralph is brother to Renzo. And Ralph and Renzo, they originally are from the old Gracie Barra gym, the original Gracie Barra gym in Rio de Janeiro, before there were any others. Of course, with the family that big, there are divisions, arguments, disagreements, and so on. And, you know, it can be very fractious. And there's, you know, various disputes that have gone on between the various members of the Gracie family for a very long time. Well, rather than us go into all that, what we decided to do was to invite well-known ADCC champion, BJJ black belt, and, of course, a historian, Robert Drysdale, to help explain a little bit about some of the history of this infighting amongst the Gracie family. Take it away, Robert.
One thing about when you say Gracie family, people tend to think, oh, it's like one, you know, big unit and everyone agrees on everything. And at the same time, it's unfair because it's not realistic to anyone's family, is it? Imagine a family the size of theirs. It's almost impossible to have unity. There's clearly some rivalries in the family, even though they keep it under the table, because it hurts the whole brand, like if they show division. And I'm not surprised that there's a split in the family when it comes to different brands of jiu-jitsu, different ways of selling jiu-jitsu to the world. Especially when you get money involved, things become highly, highly political very quickly. All disputes in the family go back as far as the family's been involved in jiu-jitsu. I could think of the first division in the family really is Carlos Gracie and George Gracie. Carlos was a brilliant manager. He was brilliant at promoting his brothers. But the first champion of the family is George Gracie. And at some point, they have a fallout, and they never really quite fixed. I don't know the details of the split, but I suspect it has to do with money. I think it has to do with George was the first representative of the family in the ring, and as far as the champion goes, like he was winning a lot. He was doing very well. But Carlos finds in Helio a new champion, so Helio becomes that figure. Another split in the family that's very important, it was actually beneficial to the whole of jiu-jitsu, is Carlson Gracie and Helio. Carlson Gracie, arguably the most charismatic of all Gracies, you know, very different from his from his uncle Helio. He was the champion in the family. Once Helio retires, he's like the next one in line. He's representing the family in vale-tudos all over the country. And he had a very different approach to jiu-jitsu. When Carlson thought of teaching jiu-jitsu, he thought group classes, which was something that didn't exist then. This whole system of group classes we have came from Carlson Gracie. Carlson brought it to the masses. He lowered the membership, so it's cheaper now. So now it's more affordable to middle and lower classes. So that is a very undervalued revolution that took place in jiu-jitsu, was Carlson's teaching model. But he clearly has a split with Helio, because Helio doesn't want anyone teaching outside the original Gracie Academy. And of course, there's that infamous dispute between Rorion Gracie and Carle Gracie, right? Clark's dad. Carle was somewhat of an oddball in the family. He clashed with Helio a lot, and Rorion, of course, as Helio's eldest son, they probably had a rivalry in Brazil that went way back. This did not start in the United States. But Carle was here first. He is a Gracie. He is Carlos Gracie's son. And he starts teaching Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But Rorion, he wants a trademark over the name. So that's a dispute in the family. They went on for a while, and, Carle won, but it was pretty ugly. It goes to show, like, how competitive the family was. But you can see that rivalry left the gym and made it into the realm of business, and in this case, legal disputes. Business can throw family against each other. It's not pretty, but it's a reality of life, not only in the Gracie family.
Some interesting stuff there, Hal. A lot of things I didn't know. I didn't realize that it was Carlson that brought the group class structure there. Fitting to learn that, of course, on kind of an important day in jiu-jitsu history, 15 years to the day of his
15 years
passing.
ago today. Wow, it's amazing. Carlson Gracie definitely had one of the greatest impacts on jiu-jitsu. Of course, he was the second generation after Carlos and Helio, who were the co-founders of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and Carlson was just a monumental figure in jiu-jitsu, and sometimes it's a little forgotten as how much he actually did, and how many amazing teachers then he went on to form who have just changed the face of jiu-jitsu. But yeah, there's a lot of history in jiu-jitsu, and hopefully we can help shed some light on that stuff here in Grappling Bulletin.
Exactly. I think it'd be a fun segment to explore our roots a bit more, because we're so concerned with the day-to-day that sometimes you don't have time to look back, but it's important to do once in a while. For
sure. Getting Robert, people like Robert to explain, definitely pretty good. Moving on, Prospect Watch. So again, another new feature that we want to do here on Grappling Bulletin is we want to discuss some of the people who are coming through. Now, this Prospect Watch, to explain, Chase, it's not the guys who are maybe out there right now winning the biggest tournaments. It's more the guys that we feel have got the potential to win big things, right?
Sure, and I think it should not be confused with rookie, for example, because someone may be flying under the radar, not getting the results they want, and then suddenly, boom, win one big tournament, two, and then suddenly, okay, this person's now a legit prospect. They might win worlds or something. So it's just basically someone that's on the bubble of becoming maybe the next big thing, or at least a legitimate leader in their divisions and fields.
Yeah, exactly. So this week's prospect we want to highlight is Andy Murasaki of Atos. Now, we generally are going to focus more on colored belts in the Prospect Watch, but Andy is a brand new black belt. He just got promoted at the end of 2020, but he had a fantastic year in 2020 at brown belt, which, let's roll this video because we've got some amazing moments from his standout year last year. There is Andy. This was the 2020 IBJJF Pan Championship. Now, he is a lightweight, and he went out there and he took double gold, winning both the lightweight and the absolute division, beating ultra, super, and ultra heavyweights in the absolute division, like right here in this match. And I think it was either 7 or 8 matches, but he won all but one match by submission, Chase. That's pretty incredible.
It's amazing. And that final match was against none other than Mason Fowler, the only match he didn't win by submission, but still looked pretty dominant throughout that match. And Mason Fowler is both elite and freaking huge.
Yep.
Is he ultra heavy?
There's Mason right there, yeah. And look at the size difference between the two, you can see. But Andy, that combination of technique plus some really solid athleticism as well. At that gi grip, look at that right behind the back of the neck, and that beautiful guard pass, phenomenal. But hey, this kid, he can do both. He does gi and no gi. Look at this. He competed as part of the winning Atos team at Subversive and showcased the fact that he is not a one-trick pony.
No, Andy really is exciting. He can do it all. He's in a perfect position as far as being on Atos, having someone like Andre Galvao kind of guide him through his career, putting him in a place to succeed. And I think we're going to see a really busy 2021 from Murasaki. And
hope so.
There are a ton of exciting matches for him at lightweight. you can name 10 guys off the top of your head where, you can really just see fireworks. Personally, I kind of want to see this AOJ Atos rivalry extend a little bit and see Jonathan Alves versus Andy Murasaki
May
at some
happen
point.
soon, actually, because they both signed up for the IBJJF Dallas Open at
There
the
you
beginning
go.
of March. So we could see that happen. But, man, we're still waiting for Andy's black belt debut. It hasn't happened yet. But at his weight class, like you say, 170 pounds, lightweight.
I mean, that's Edwin's division. Could you imagine Edwin versus Andy Murasaki, for example?
I could. That would be amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun athletes at that weight class. That what I love about the lightweights, maybe I'm biased, is that I feel like there's an equal-ish distribution between guard players and passers. I mean, you don't just find two guys that want to play
Technique
guard.
and athleticism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really is, I think, one of the most intriguing divisions out there. So
Yeah. Andy
Andy's
definitely
gonna
one
make
of
waves.
those. Yeah, he is. And like I say, usually we want to feature more the up and comers in the color belt ranks, but was just that amazing 2020 that he had as a brown belt. And of course, his competition results go back way before that. But last year, he won Euros, he won Pans, he's at the Subversive, just a phenomenal series of performances. So we wanted to highlight him right before he makes his black belt debut, so that when he does, you can say, oh yeah, I knew that kid.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, actually, before we put this out there, we usually have, around the summertime, a promotions article, or you could call it a little mini database of everyone from the elite colored ranks that make the next belt level, but we didn't have that because the season was disrupted, right? So everyone was getting promoted somewhat sporadically, maybe ahead of a tournament, maybe right after a tournament, but wasn't quite the regimented sort of promotion season that we're used to. So we wanted to give a call out there to maybe one of the leading future black belts. I like it.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this segment because there are a lot of exciting guys coming up through the ranks that we want to give some love to. So, but let's wrap up the show, Chase, because upcoming events on FloGrappling. Well, February is going to be a busy month, right?
Yeah, what's happening that month? What are we doing?
What are we doing in February? Well, first off, we have BJJ Stars on February 6th. We've got a loaded calendar with Fight to Win events coming up. Of course, they will return. They're going to be in Dallas throughout the month of February. February 13th will be their first show back. And they're going to continue the all-women's shows as well. The last show of each month will be an all-female show.
I love it. I think it's a great idea. I got an incredible reception this last weekend, which was very encouraging to see. It was great reaction from the community, and I'm glad they're being rewarded for their efforts. It must have worked because they're doing it again. So.
Exactly, yeah. But the big one in February, of course, is Who's Number One?
Who's Number One is back, baby. And I love this main event. Craig Jones versus Ronaldo Jr. Man, it's just, someone's getting submitted in that match. Either Ronaldo gets the back, chokes Craig, or Craig attacks the legs. I mean, there are a million different things that could happen, but I really think that one will not go the distance.
And it's not the only good match on this show because we've already announced, of course, Nicky Ryan versus Roberto Jimenez, which is just
another shootout.
Mind-blowing for me. I love that match. Yeah, shootout is the perfect way to describe it. It's amazing. We've also got Gio Martinez versus Junior Ocasio, Gabby Garcia versus Nachieli, and more matches, TBA. They're still coming through. So I think one of the best things to do is you absolutely need to tune in every Wednesday for the Who's Number One podcasts to catch up with Michael, Reed, and Corey, because those guys are going to be giving you all the information on the upcoming Who's Number One events and more. But hey, take a look at this because we got a great video promoting the upcoming Who's Number One.
My name is Ronaldo Jr. I'm from Brazil. I train at Atos Jiu-Jitsu HQ in San Diego.
My name is Craig Jones. I train with Renzo Gracie Academy, specifically the Danaher Death Squad.
My style is kind of aggressive. I think it's going to be a very exciting match for the people who love Jiu-Jitsu.
Typically, a lot of people will watch me compete to see the finishes, and in regards to those finishes, mostly heel hooks.
Now is my time. I'm excited.
For sure, it's going to be exciting.
It has smoke in the trailer, so it's going to be fire. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
You had to, yeah. It will be exciting, like Craig says. I mean, you basically have the human highlight reel up against Australia's deadliest mammal. So, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a great one. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever episode of Grappling Bulletin. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Tune in to BJJ Stars this Saturday. Do not miss that event. Hal and I are going to be on the call, delivering the action. And we'll see you again next Monday on another episode of Grappling Bulletin.